So as mentioned in not only the reminder of the office hours, but with Liz's follow-up question, um, we I went a little bit more into detail of what the tokens, where the tokens are that we're focusing on, and they're specifically dealing with the email template when it comes to a web form and the confirmation message. So we're just focusing on web forms today and how you can use tokens within this form. Let's just jump right in to an example of where you probably have already seen a token. If you have used the email form component type before, then what you probably already know is that the value can be set to the current user's email by default. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this so we can see where that box is. So right here, the checkbox user email as default, when we check that box, the system drops in that token for us. And so this type of token is specific to somebody that is logged in. So kind of getting back again to Liz's question in the Google group about tokens being for authenticated users or those that are logged in, there are certain token types, specifically current user, that are related to those that are logged in. So we know that this email form component is filled in with a token. So let me go back to view the form. I am logged in, so we see an email address filled in there. When it comes to somebody who isn't logged in, they're just going to see a blank field if the token is being used there. So here it's not a big deal if somebody does not have a login, but the webmaster has made use of the token there. It's going to still be a good experience for that general public user.
Do you think that the people who are using a form to join, I mean, they aren't members yet, right?
Right.
Or are they?
Right. Well, it depends. If it is a renewal form that you're using together, it will be helpful there. But this is just for any type of form, not just the membership forms or a join form for new members. You definitely can use it wherever you'd like. It might be more useful in other types of forms, like you're saying, maybe not so useful in the new joining members form, but you definitely can use it wherever. And that's specifically, that was just an example of specifically the email form component type. Now, when we are talking about the email templates themselves, let's go on over to the email tab. And I'll create a new one so that we can take a look at those. The email template by default is already filled in. If we go down to the very bottom where the email template is, we see that there are several tokens already in the default template. So anything within the brackets, that lets the system know that this is a token and it is holding the place for a specific set of data. The token type that we saw earlier for the current user's email, those are specific to a logged in user. These here in the email template are specific to a form submission. So in order for these tokens to be replaced with that specific data, somebody or a user needs to submit a form. So that's the reason why you never have to change the email template, but we just see with each submission, these tokens are replaced. This one specifically is for every single form component you have. So based on the questions that you have on your form, this submission : values will reveal every single question, whether or not the user answered or provided a response to that specific question. So I'm going to open my form components side by side, just to give you an idea of which questions I do currently have. So when we see that token submission : values.
Maurice,
Yes.
Maurice, I think Ed might have had a question. Did you, Ed?
Oh, thank you for that.
Can you block out any of those values so they don't get submitted?
Block them out as far as when I am looking at the email template. Is that where you're wondering?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really great question. So, like I said, this is like the generic catch-all for all of the form components and their responses. If you wanted to make it more specific, I'm just going to add it to the line below it. You would take the same beginning, so it would start with submission : values, but then at the end you would want to append an additional colon, and then the next part after that, we're going to put a question mark there just to hold the place. That question mark needs to be replaced with the proper form key. So a form key, I'm going to come back over to my form components tab. Every time that you create a form component, you're required to specify the label. And then the system usually just takes your label and creates the form key with it. So if I want the token to reveal the what is your name, the response to what is your name, I would copy the form key, what underscore is underscore your underscore name. Coming back over to where I have the token, when I replace that question mark with that form key, this token, if I am answering it for myself, to that question, what is your name? I answer Amaris. When I see this token in the email or on the confirmation page, it's going to specifically say my name. So let's try this. It's probably a little bit easier to test this out on our confirmation page rather than trying it in the email template. So I'm going to come back up. I've copied that token that we just built. I have it copied to my clipboard. And I want to come on over to our form settings so I have it already added in our confirmation message. But again, just to show off, it's the same thing that I have up here. We'll just add another line here of you're appreciated. Okay, so I have thank you, answer to your name, you're appreciated, your name as well. So we'll save this. And because the token types are about the submission values, it requires a submission. So if I went to visit my confirmation page without submitting the form, it would say, thank you, comma, blank space. You're appreciated, comma, blank space. So coming back to view the published version, and just to show off what I said now, if you just went straight to the confirmation page, and the way to do that is to append to the end of the URL /done, the word DONE. That is how I get to the confirmation page without submitting the form. But as you can see, my name is not displayed because I haven't submitted the form to tell the system what my name is. Let's go back and actually submit this. So I'll provide my name. The other two questions aren't necessary, but if you are trying to use a token that is representative of the person's email or of whatever this question is about, whatever they chose, it would be best to have those required if you are trying to present that information on the confirmation page. So I'll go ahead and submit this. I have a preview page. Okay, now I'll submit this. And based on my response, I can now see that I'm being personally, they're referring to me by name now that that information is confirmed. So this works with any form component you have, whatever question that you're asking the person to fill out, you have the ability to present it on the confirmation page or change up the way that the email template is set up. Does anybody have any questions or would like to see me drop in a different type of form component, or I'm sorry, a token?
Well, the one where you have to choose, I'd like to see how you display their choice.
Oh yeah, sure. So what I'm going to do is keep open this in a new tab to edit it, just so that we can see like the full back end of this form component. So let's see, can I get a text box in here? Might be a little bit easier for us to see this. Okay, so as before, we start off with submission : values : when it comes to a select options, let's put it there. When it comes to a select options type of token, we need to have the form key as we would with any other type, like a text field or email. So let me add that into our text box. So I have submission : values : choose _1, because that's my form key. But I also need to add another piece onto the end of that. So I'm adding another colon and the question mark. We're going to replace that with that other tab that I have open where I've edited the choose one, which was the select options form component. I need to make my way down to the options. Well, specifically, if you are just trying to see what that person said, that's where you would end it. And sorry, this might be a little confusing. The part that I was getting at earlier where you would replace the question mark would be if you're trying to only specify, let's say, green, regardless of if that user answered it or not. So to answer Liz's question, if you're trying to show what each specific submitter has selected, then this is where you would stop. So submission : values : choose _1. So it's the same type of syntax. Tokens are always going to have the brackets on either end. We saw with the example of the current user email that this is the way to build that up. So the beginning, what we consider as the token type, starts with current -user. That's always going to refer to the person, the user who is logged in. And if somebody is not logged in, it will be a blank line. The submission values is the token type is related to a form submission. So that form submission is required. Otherwise, this would present itself as a blank line as well.
Maurice,
Yes.
if you had several choose ones on your form, would the machine then name one choose one number one, choose one number two? Each one would have a different form key name, correct?
By default, the system is not doing that on its own. So let's try that out. I'm going to close these other tabs. So if I'm coming back in and I have another question or a form component that has the same exact label, and it doesn't really matter what the form component type is, just the fact that I have the same label, it's going to, well, I'm sorry, not the same label. So as we said before, the label is what you need to specify, and then the form key the system is filling that in by default based on your label. So if you have the same labels, that's fine. The form keys cannot be the same. So that's where the problem or the error would happen. By default, again, the form key is taking on what the label says. So you must change that yourself. So add on any character, spaces are the only thing that aren't going to be taken here. If you didn't make the change to the form key and you made it all the way to the very bottom and saved, the system will let you know that you are using a form key that's already in use. So, you know, adding an underscore, adding a number, a letter, whatever it may be, or shortening it, whatever change you need to make to that, just so that you can save that would be the way to go.
Can you use conditionals at all?
Yes, conditionals are a little
Oh,
bit
there
different.
it is, conditionals.
The conditionals are having to do with like hiding and showing parts of a form. But as far as the submit, like the submittal, everybody ends up at the same point when they're ready to submit.
So
When they're
that's different than in that place where you showed the choose one. You might say if choose one equals green, then display it, or, you know, can you do conditionals like that?
yes, why don't we show off a conditional now that I have a couple of additional questions. So based on what you're saying, Liz, if I started my conditional based on if their choose one is green, then let's say that second choose one will be shown. So that will mean that once I save these, our second choose one will be hidden until I answer green on the first question. So we see that that second choose one is not here. And that's that the conditionals will work on the main, like the first page of the form. Once you click preview or submit, then, you know, those conditionals are no longer at play.
So that those conditionals have to do what displays in the form. I was thinking about in the place where your was it the confirmation, the place that we've been editing.
I see. No, yeah, they are not related. They are on different sides of the form.
Okay.
This being the part where you're filling it out. Yeah. And then the other section is for after the submittal.
Emrys,
Yes.
suppose it wasn't choose one, but say choose two or leave it as many as they want to choose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's go back in. Whoops. Oh yeah. No, I'm going to the right spot. So we're going to edit these select options, and there's a specific checkbox for this. We're going to scroll down. It's past the options here. And here it is here. So you can allow for multiple. You can also allow for other. Another thing, in case you ever need, the select options come pre-built with days of the week, the countries, or US states. If you ever needed to have those lists, you don't have to create them by hand.
But if you have three options, they may or may not choose three.
Mm-hmm.
What about the form key, though, that you need to have a unique value for each one, right?
Yeah, the unique value for each specific option, you will need to create yourself. So when we're talking about the options, we refer to it here as the safe key, but it's essentially the form key for each option. So just as, and I'm going to scroll up a little bit more, just as the form component, the entire form component has choose one as a form key, each option within that has its own form key that can be, you know, simple, or as I had it, exactly related to what the visible option is. Is that getting to your question, or you might
No, I think so. If they didn't choose one, then that value would just be blank.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Let's actually see if I can pull up the email, just because I did recently submit it. I believe that I did skip a question. Let's see if I have that. Let's try submitting that again because I can't recall which email. But yeah, so I'm going to submit the form and leave a question blank. Whoops. So I'm going to answer green on the first choose one, just so that I can see that second choose one, and we'll leave this one blank. To make things easier on myself, I'll make that my own email. And you know what? I might actually not have the emails set up. Sorry about that.
It would go to the results page, wouldn't it?
Yes, thank you for that. That's much easier. We don't have to worry about looking at the email. So yeah, I'm looking at the individual result. So this is essentially kind of the same information you would see when you receive it by email. You're going to get every single question, whether or not I provided an answer. So being able to customize the tokens on your email can be helpful. You know, if there's certain questions or responses that only need to go to certain people on your team, you could edit the template in such a way that, you know, sensitive information only goes to those that really need to see it, things like that. Let's go back by
Good.
clicking on the name of the web form. Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
No, I'm saying good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so just going back, like I said, the form submissions or the submission values, that token type is not only dependent on your or on the user submitting the form, but it also depends on your own form keys, how you've created the form components. So you need the form keys to be able to build the tokens properly when it comes to the submission values. And then in order for the user, the submitter, to see the tokens display properly, they need to fill out the form and submit the form.
One other thing on this screen now.
Mhm.
A type like email is automatically gives you the current user mail, that token. Are there other types that give an automatic value, or like
Um,
text?
let's show this one again. The email, I have this one opened here to edit that email form component type. And what we did to provide that token was check this box, user email as default. By default, this box is unchecked. So I would recommend checking that, because if somebody is not logged in, it will just be blank as it would if this box was unchecked. The other example, let me go on back to, this is our form components list. The token is not available for others. Well, actually, you can use current user again here. In the default value, because you are asking the person's name, it makes sense to possibly use current user name. So anywhere that you see this link, browse available tokens, that's the system letting you know you have the ability to use tokens in this section.
In effect, when you define your form key, you're sort of defining your own token. Is that right?
In a way, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are defining that last piece of the token. So I think, you know, especially when you know you are going to use tokens, it makes total sense to shorten a form key especially when the original label is super long. You know, it's super simple to just go with a shorter form key. Just note that if you make changes to a form key and you have a token already in place, you need to make changes to that token as well. So back to the default value, whenever you see browse available tokens, that lets you know that you're able to use them there. The only thing that is a little difficult that you do kind of have to gauge yourself is knowing the right context for these tokens. So as I was saying with the submission values type of token, the context that's required is a form submission. And then with current user type tokens, the context there that's required is that a user must be logged in. When those things are not there, we just see a blank space. So let me go ahead and open the, click on the link for browse available tokens. It is a long list. Many of these tokens you probably won't have a need for. And that's why I'm pointing out the current user and the submission values token types, because those are probably the most useful to you. So just know that when you click on the link for browse available tokens, it's a pretty big list. It does take a little bit of time to load up. But once it properly loads up, you'll notice that it kind of condenses down to a collapsed list of items, and then you can drag it around your screen just to make it easier for you to view it. So for the, let's see, we're working with what is your name, and we want to see a default value for what is your name. So because the context is there of we're looking for somebody's name, and then there's a chance that the user could be logged in, we can open up the current user token dropdown. That's the type of tokens. And we do have quite a big list, but the good thing
for you.
The good thing here is that, and I don't
I
think,
was going to be in there, but you were mowing the lawn.
Oh,
Jan, can you go ahead and thank you. So the current user, like I said, we have quite a few of them here, but the good thing is that you have not only the name of it that gives us an idea, but you also have a description of it here off to the right. So if there are ones that you're unsure about, always make sure to check out the right side. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so what I'm looking for, I'm under current user. I'm just looking for the first name field. I know that we use this in our user profile. So simply by clicking on the token, it will drop that in, and there's a note of that here. Click a token to insert it into the field you've last clicked. So if you're going to use browse available tokens, just make sure you clicked into the proper field before you click that link. So I've dropped in first name. I could also drop in the last name. And it's just as simple as that. Let's go ahead and exit or close that available tokens window. And just because I have a first and last name here, I obviously want to have a space in between there. And so just as we did, let's go ahead and save this. Just as we saw the default token for the email, you know, as a user is logged in, my email address will be filled in there. But if I'm logged out, these fields will be blank. So coming back over to view published, this is my name according to this account. But if I was logged in just as myself, my personal account, I would see Amaris LeBron, and I would see alebron@lwvc.org. But either way, it does work properly. This is based on the name that's listed in my user profile. And let's actually.
Amherst, just to clarify, you by logged in, you mean logged in to MyLO?
Logged into MyLO, yes. And this is my user profile page, just to show you that that is the name that I do have listed.
Well, for something like a renewal or something, a member typically wouldn't have to log in, would they?
Typically not. These are probably best on the confirmation page, just so that if most of the folks that are filling out your forms are not logged in, then you won't have the context of an authenticated user. All of these
Yeah,
would
but
be
they would have to fill in their email and go from there.
right.
Okay.
And so for those kinds of cases, if they're not logged in, then it would make sense to work with your confirmation page. If you're trying to personalize something, or if for any reason you wanted to present them back with their answers before they receive their confirmation email, or just by seeing what their submission values are here. Let's actually do that. I'm just taking the generic token of the submission values, where I'm not specifying any one answer. It's going to show me the label, which is the question, and the response, which is the answer I provided. Just so that we can show that off one more time. And actually, I'm going to fill this out while I'm logged out, so that we have those tokens there still. But now that I'm logged out, we see that what is your name and what is your email are no longer filled in, because the system doesn't know who I am. But by filling these out, and I'm going to do the same thing, leave that last one blank. Once I submit this, I'm now pretty much going to see the same information on the confirmation page. So I have, what is your name? What is your email? And let's see, the top and bottom, these are presenting as blanks. And it was because I changed my form key. Let's go back to the form. And I'll log myself back in here. It's great. It'll take a little bit. I have to masquerade as well. Okay, so coming back to the web form, I shortened my form key for what is your name to just name. And that's where, coming back over to the form settings in the confirmation message, I have the old form key still. So that's the reason why it didn't show up. So let's go ahead and change that. And same thing down here. So now this token actually matches my newly updated form key. Go ahead and save this. Okay. So, well, we get that. I'll submit that one more time.
But now you're logged in.
Yeah, and it's the same thing, whether or not I was logged in. Once we get to this confirmation page, this page
Okay.
here, this is where
You use the submission values.
exactly, yeah. It is regardless of if I'm logged in or not, I will see my responses here. Yeah.
Can we go
Anybody?
to the email using tokens? Are you going to do that?
Yeah, we can do that. It will probably be about the same. So kind of the same idea of tokens that we've been using here on the form components and in form settings for the confirmation message. It's going to be very similar to those on email. So let's go ahead and set one up to our LWVC email. And
So if
come
I want to add one to the person who submitted it too.
to the person who submitted it. Oh, as far as I submit and I want an email back of
Yes.
my responses. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and change that. So instead of providing a custom email address, I will just choose component. And it has to be an email type component. So that's the reason why what is your email is the proper one to choose. And that won't matter. So I'll just remove that. And let's jump down to the email template.
But if I want both of those, where do I have both of those?
You
You know,
would have to create them separately. So I would have to save the email settings. And this is the email that would be going to the submitter. And then separately, now I have to add my league's email. If you were looking to have multiple custom
Yeah.
emails, you can do that all in one line. Whoops.
Can I
the
include one of the components in that, or?
Unfortunately not. When it deals with the component, that is only one at a time. But if you're specifying a custom email address, you can specify more than just one.
But how can I do both? Can I mean, I want to notify my
They do have
people.
to be two separate. So they cannot be one email setting. So I'm saving this one. So the submitter, this is value of what is your email address. This is the email that the submitter would receive. And then separately, I have to create email settings for custom emails. So they can't be combined in one email setting.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just jump back into edit one of these just so that we can take a look at the email template. You'll notice that all of the tokens that are currently in here are based on the submission. You definitely can add in current user, but like we've kind of been saying, it if you're not requiring them to be logged in to fill out this form, then submission values is better contextually than current user, because you're definitely going to have submissions, but it's not a definite answer if you're going to have logged in users. No worries, Jan. So I am, well, actually, was there any specific tokens that you'd like to see, or, you know, otherwise I would probably just drop in similar tokens that we were dropping in earlier.
No.
There
Okay.
are only certain pages where the browse available token link is available. Is that right? You can't get
That's
to it.
correct.
Okay, you just have to poke around until you find one, but then you can leave it on.
Yeah. The browse available tokens, I will say, is the majority of where you'll find it is within web forms. Like how we are seeing here with the individual email settings, we see it in the form settings. We also see it for a lot of the form components.
Okay.
So then let's just make this.
I have a question, Emery.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can use tokens for an error message. So somebody makes a mistake and they don't fill in a required field. How would you do that?
That is not something that the webmasters would have control over. The system, based on you making that form component required, will you know, post that warning to the user or not.
It doesn't tell them specifically which field hasn't been filled in that needs to be.
Okay, well then maybe that sounds like it might be something for us to take a look at. That it might just be that it's not properly working, but I'd definitely like to hear more about that. If you'd be able to send us an email or send us a ticket, Jan, I'd
Sure.
appreciate that. Awesome.
I think what she's asking is that on a lot of websites, if you don't fill in a required field, they'll draw a box around it or something like that.
Mhm.
This
I
doesn't do
think
that, right?
right.
No.
This doesn't deal with any error messages. It is just holding the place until either a current user is available or a submission value is available, or whatever the token type is. It is just kind of patiently waiting until there is specific data to take its place.
Well, there's no way is there a way we can, on the label, without, show that it's a required entry or?
Oh yeah, let me hop on back and we'll get back to the email template to add in those tokens. But quickly here, you can require anything from the list of form components. If you check any of those, just make sure to save at the bottom. Or you can edit individual form components. And let's see, it's about halfway down. It's the first question under validation. So you can make them required or unrequire them from here or from the full list of form components.
And that shows up with a little asterisk on the label, is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's, I'll go ahead and require these. And when we come back to the front of the, to view the form, we'll see that. So I'm going to pop back over to the emails just so we can play around with that template some more, or begin to play around with it. So coming on down here, say that I'd like to, once again, make it a personalized message. I just remember this token, but remember that anytime you'd like to use a token, the browse available tokens list should be available for you. Wherever, obviously tokens are available, that will be there, but just know that it's there for your use if you don't happen to remember the syntax of a particular token. So actually, I put in the current user, and that's probably not the best, as we were just saying that submission values makes most sense here because we are guaranteed if the email is being sent off, then that definitely means that there was a form submission, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the user was logged in. So I don't want to use current user. I want to use submission values. And remember that this last part is specific to the form key. And my form key, or the question, is what is your name? But the form key related to that, I shortened it down to just the word name. So hi, name. We can also, let's go down here. Just as we did earlier, this is the generic, it's going to spit out every single question, every single form component, and every single response. But if we want to say, your email address is listed as, and I'm going based on my submission values, and I'm going to leave the question mark there because I don't remember what my form key is. So if that happens, always just open it in a new tab so you don't lose your work so far. So I need to replace that question mark with the form key for the question about the user's email. So coming back over to my form components, the question of what is your email? This is my form key. Coming back over, now I can replace that question mark with what underscore is underscore your underscore email. And now for every single user, it should say your email address is listed as whatever they specified. So let's go ahead.
How did you open that in a new tab?
Oh yeah, I just, when I came up here, I right-clicked on form components and open link in new tab.
Great.
All right, so let's save this. That was, we made changes to the value of, or the recipient to that, a value of what is your email address. So now let's come back over to view published, and I'll fill that out one more time and make some changes. And just answer everything. All right, once I preview, I can submit. All right, so this is our confirmation page message. It's kind of similar to our email message, but we've made some changes to our email template just recently. So let's see if I can pull that email up. There we go. I think I heard something. Here we are. Okay. Sorry if this is a little small here. I'm unfortunately, oh, yes, I am able to zoom in. Okay. So we have that personalized message. Hi, Amaris. I've left the rest of that information the same. So it had the submittal date here. It has the submitted user if I was logged in, and I was logged in. And then every single response or question and response, whether or not I answered. But this is that new line that we added. So it fills in the blank just as we expected. One other thing to note about the, do I have it open still? We'll just go back. The email template area is HTML, requires HTML. So coming on back here, you'll notice that visually I've left a line of space blank, but HTML does not pay attention to that. You need to have a break in between if you are trying to add a line of space. Having that, the BR and the P tags, both of those HTML tags will be super helpful when you're trying to customize this template. Oh, and one other thing too, included email values. This is kind of related to the tokens. Well, yeah, it's related to the submission, the submission value token. As we said before, the submission values token type is going to it's going to display all of the questions and the answers. Whether or not there was an answer provided, it's still going to list that form component. Down here in included email values, you can pick and choose. And you have the option to exclude empty components so that if I didn't answer something, you won't even see that form component on my submission. And that's just directly underneath the template. I don't think I made any changes, but I'll save the email settings. All right. Did anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Remind me how you preview the email template.
Oh, yeah. coming over to, well, first, if you're starting out viewing the web form, then you would go first to the web form tab and then to the emails tab. And then you'd have to choose which of the email settings you'd like to edit. But once you get over to click on the edit link, it's all the way at the very bottom.
Well,
And this
I
is,
mean-
it's,
I mean, is there a way to preview the way it actually will print out or show up on the screen?
you do have to send it or submit, like
Okay.
put a test submission through.
Keep submitting it to yourself so you can see it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And if that's the case, and you had multiple email settings and you only wanted to see it sent to yourself, you can temporarily disable the sending of those emails so that you're not bombarding the rest of your team with your test emails.
Okay.
Did anybody have any other questions?
Is there any online documentation for all of this yet, or?
We have, I think our documentation on tokens is very light, but I am trying to beef that up and get some of at least some of these tips that we've gone over today, get those down in writing. But I'll be sure to link that in our office hours wrap up. Link to that document.
Maurice? My question is about, it's related, but it's not about tokens. It's about what happens when you use the clear button.
Oh, good question. Yeah, on the results.
I'm afraid to do it because I don't know what will happen.
Got it. No, yeah, it is. It does a lot because it will completely clear the list. You won't be able to access any of the individual answers anymore. As far as the users, it won't affect the users in any way, but you won't be able to see their submissions here online.
Right. That's what I was afraid it was going to do, because there's some I want to keep and some I don't want to keep. And we've got a lot of testing going on right now, but so it's hard to clear out all the testing that I don't want to keep.
Yeah, that's where it would have to be done individually.
But maybe you could sort it by user or something. Is that when you click user, will it sort by user?
It will sort, but I believe that whether or not the clear button does grab all of them. So whether or not you have a lot of them, the clear button is all inclusive.
Well, I just meant for Jeanette.
Oh, I see. To be able
she
to
could see the different types of testing, because they're probably coming from.
That's a good idea if all my testers were logged in. That'll.
Oh, yeah.
But it'll get me a lot of them.
Can you select just one? Click it on the number?
You can delete. Oh, yeah. If you click on the number or click view, that allows you to take a look at that response. You can edit them.
Oh, and you can resend.
Yeah, another way that you can do it too is by clicking on the table.
Resending emails is really. Show them how to resend emails, because that has been so handy.
Oh, yeah. So, like Jan is saying, if you want to resend the email, you do have to go through the results tab and you either click view or the number of the submission. And resend emails is available for every single submission. And it's just, I do that. I think it's just going to email me. It allows you to choose from your already existing email settings. I disabled this one just a second ago, but I'll go ahead and enable it just for this resending of the emails for the submission.
Who are you resending them to?
To those, so the let me go ahead and click that again. When it says, this usually says value of email address or value of what is your email. Because this is an already submitted response, I know, or the system knows that that is lwvc@lwvc.org. On top of that, I specified these two email addresses as recipients.
But I mean, why are you, well, I guess, why are we resending them? Are we adding a node or, I'm sorry.
No,
Um,
sometimes people tell me they don't get their email. Like,
Oh,
for
okay.
instance, the membership chairman, she didn't get the email.
Okay,
So I can go in and I can resend it.
And also to Mary Jo's question, if you were trying to, before you resent an email, if you did want to make a note to that person that is going to receive it, you can make a change to the template before and then resend the emails. Once you resend the emails, then you can go back into the template and remove your changes. But that's a definite option if before resending, you wanted to give that person a heads up within the same message.
well, what are the, you've got view, edit, and delete. So what would let, what can you do under edit?
I can change this person's responses. So I can say, they
Oh,
told me that their email address is actually A LeBron, not LWVC.
oh,
And I would just go through the same steps of the form. I do have to click the preview button because I have a preview page. But once I hit save, then that change has been applied to this specific form submission.
oh. Okay, thank you.
Why
Um,
do you,
yeah.
why do you get that little yield sign with the exclamation? It looks like a warning or something.
It is related to the preview page. Let me go back to the form settings. So I'm going to go on over to show where you can turn that, like toggle that on and off. Within the form settings, there's a specific section about preview page. Somewhere down the bottom. Here we go. The preview page, I have enabled it. And like you mentioned, Liz, the like yellow warning sign, that is by default the way that it's formatted. So that yellow box and the little like exclamation point in the triangle symbol, those by default will come up. And then the reason why it says my name is because the text just has the token of submission values name. So let's just provide some more context. So I'm going to say, wait, preview your answers. By default, if we don't provide a preview message and we are enabling the preview page, it's going to say something like, here it is. Please review your submission. Your submission is not complete until you press the submit button. The preview page is definitely, not necessary, but it's there in your back pocket if you need folks to really review their stuff before they're submitting. Let's go back. I just made a couple of changes to what the text of the preview page says now, or the preview page message. And I can change the text of the preview button as well. But now it says, wait, preview your answers, League of Women Voters of California, because League of Women Voters of California is my name.
Okay.
Awesome. Did anybody else have any last minute questions? Yeah, Ed.
I just want to verify one thing. I noticed there's a token for node number. And on the conditionals, you can use either the page name or the node number to move to it from a conditional. Is that right?
I don't believe so. As far as the conditionals, they are only based on the form components that you have. So it's like if somebody answers in this way to this question, then, affect this other question or this other part of the form to either be revealed or be hidden. The conditionals only have to do with the form components, like the questions of the form.
Okay, but in this case, if you choose
Anne-Marie-
green, then I want to go
Anne-Marie,
to a certain page.
That is not possible.
I do that actually. No, it is. It's possible.
Yeah.
And so, okay, maybe I'm not sure.
The reason I'm asking,
What you can do
Jan
is
sent
you
me
can
her
say
flow
if
chart.
the answer is green.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jan.
What you can do is you can say if the answer is green, set, and then you have this variable called node to 25763 or whatever the node is where you want to take them to the next screen.
And which
So-
variable? I'm not sure
I-
what.
I make a variable. I call it node and I make it invisible. So nobody sees it, but it's in the background. So I set it to the number of the node I want to send them to. So if it's green, I send them one place. If it's red, I send them another place. This I do on my membership form.
When you
Okay.
say to another place, do you mean within the same page or a whole new?
No, it's a whole different page. It's a
I'm
different
gonna make
page
my
for
way
each
to
one.
your site. I'm not sure what you mean by variable. Is it form component, what you're talking about?
I gave them a yes. Go to my. Do you want to see it?
I'm sorry?
Can you go to my page?
Mhm.
Can you go to my page? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I'm heading there. And
It's the join renew in the left column.
All
is
the
it
way
under
down.
about or?
Down.
No,
okay.
it's, well, no, it's under the donate.
Got it. Okay, so which is the part that depends on what they're choosing?
The membership type.
Okay. And is it, so what is the behavior that happens?
Go
here?
into the conditionals, you'll see it.
Okay.
Do you see where I'm setting nodes?
Okay, so you've created, is this a form component?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna come back up and open form components in a new tab. So there's a node form component. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay.
It's blank. It's blank until they choose what type of membership they want.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. I'm having a bit of a hard time understanding.
Why don't you try filling out the form a couple
that
of
fine?
times? If you,
Okay. Yeah, I
What's
think
that?
that will help me in understanding if I fill this out. I'm
If you can-
masquerading as you, Jan. Is that fine?
that's okay, but could you just change the first and last name to test? That way I
Oh,
can
for sure.
zero in and getting rid of them.
And I'll leave the email address as yours. Okay. So, and it doesn't matter which membership type I choose.
No, because they'll go different places depending on each of those four.
Okay. So,
You have to fill in city.
The
This is
rest.
this is where everybody gets confused is about city, because that doesn't fill automatically.
And is that the one you were referring to, that the error
Yes.
message? Okay,
Yes.
yeah, definitely we want to look into that then. Um,
No,
I
choose
see.
choose online. Oh, there you
Online.
go. You can see the node right there because you're masquerading as me.
I see. Okay.
So go ahead and click continue.
And now this
Okay.
is taking me to a different page. Let's see.
It's the page that matches that node.
Yeah. Okay. I have not tried that one myself before.
Does she retain all her form, her submission values and everything when she goes to that new node?
Yeah, they're
Yes.
there.
As far as clicking the submit button, that's going to capture the responses. We'll just make sure that, whoops, on the results tab, we'll see that Janet Died just submitted a few minutes ago. So it looks like just by creating well, first, Jan created the text field that is the node. And then from there, the conditionals are set up with, the first dependent, because it's dependent on the method. You specify which method, and then the node is, and then set to, being that it's a node, I believe that the system is probably working its magic and recognizes this as, I need to take this person there rather than I just need to show them this text.
If you go to where the subsequent pages, this after you hit submission, you'll see the token that fills.
Like on the confirmation page, is that what you're referring to?
No, where do you set the submission after you hit submit? Where you go?
But by default, you usually just go to the confirmation page. So if I was starting out,
show where you set the confirmation page.
oh, okay, in the back end. So I'll go over to the form settings. And here in the confirmation message.
Keep scrolling down.
Oh,
See,
I
right
see.
there's the token.
Awesome. Okay. So this is that final piece that made those other two pieces that Jan created. This is what melds them together. So the fact that she has this token here, that at the end of our root URL, https:// then that's followed by the token. This token will always be replaced with node/whatever, because Jan is specifying a node in the form. Then the token of the node knows which one to specify itself as, or what should replace that token.
If I may, the reason I brought this up, Jan sent me her flow chart and how it worked, and I've been trying to interpret all of this, and that's why I asked about node. But when you showed the available tokens, I believe there's a node token, and I was wondering if that's built in, we can use, or what?
Yeah, let me go ahead and open this one again. There are node type tokens because the context is required to be there in the first place. It might be kind of a trial and error type of thing, depending on where you are using these tokens. It's difficult to say, where these can be used properly, but it's definitely worth trying them out. If
It says
submission values.
nodes about halfway down.
Yeah. So these are related to individual content items. However, the submission values node is different than the nodes type. The submission values node is a submission token type. Nodes, and sorry, this is taking my browser a little bit to load here. The nodes have more to do with your league's just overall content. So the first one we have here, node Lou league title, is your league's name. So it would be, if I use that here, it would say Orange Coast because that's the league's name in the MyLO system. You have a
I
lot
wonder
of,
if there's one that relates to the page itself.
to like the current page or something.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think we might have something like that.
Jan invented one for herself, but I'm wondering if there's one built in.
Well, the submission values node, that is based on just the form component that she created. If you're looking for something that has to do with, with the current page, then I would recommend current page instead of nodes.
Maurice,
Yes.
didn't you teach us that each page has a node assigned by the system? That you could use instead of the name of the page, instead of the URL?
Yes, yes, that is the node
Is that
ID.
what you're asking, Ed? Does each page have a node?
I
It
think
has
so.
a-
Oh,
Yeah,
is that
so
what you're
just-
wondering? I'm
yeah.
sorry. I think I was complicating it. Yes, let's take that back. Thank you for that, Barb. Yes, every page does have a node. If I am talking about Jan's membership web form, then this node ID is 4127. And that's like specific to this content item. The next item, you know, if I was traveling the site by way of just the node and the node ID, you know, I searched for node 4217 and I landed on the Orange Coast League's membership form. But if I went to node 4218, it's definitely going to be tied to something, but I'm not sure what yet. This is the numbering system that the MyLO system uses for all of the MyLO leagues and just says, okay, this is the next node.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ed.
Well, what kicked this off really, and I think maybe Jan, you can explain why you do this to send it to specific pages. It's my interpretation, and I got into this because I was trying to set it up to have buttons to pay, like PayPal or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to transfer the correct value was to be on that page to transfer that value to be paid, I think. Is that the reason you were doing this, Jan?
Jan, are you still there with us?
Ooh, I think she may be locked up.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see her screen is blank.
But
Well,
the question I had, and Jan was helping me with it, is that if I want to have a payment button, typically you've got to be able to, well, you've got to be able to transfer the correct amount of money to the payment button operation. And I think the only way to do that really is for it to be on its own page, but I may be wrong.
Well, I have multiple buttons that have different values depending on whether it's a single membership on a couple, you know, so I can have that all on the same page and they choose the one they want. They click the button they want and that goes to PayPal. So in PayPal, I make a lot of buttons.
Okay, but you can't have a selection like individual or household and then just have one pay button, right?
I have a button for each of them.
Each one, yeah.
Yeah,
The way Jan implemented it is to send you to a specific page with a pay
Right.
button with a value, that value.
Right. But I don't think that's necessary, but you know, it's up to the, I mean, she's got all those pages. Can she hide that node so you don't see it on the form? It looks kind of confusing. Can you have I mean, I know in forms you can have hidden forms, values. Can we do that with this so it wouldn't show?
Yes, it's hidden from regular users.
But,
It's
oh,
only,
we
it's
thought,
only visible. It's only visible to administrators.
okay. So, you know, it's just how you want to do it, but you aren't constrained to have a separate page for every
No, but
possible.
we just got really complicated with our membership. We have lots of different, we have 7 different membership types.
Well, I also have buttons that are a membership type plus different donation values.
So, well, okay, Jan's back on. And the reason, Jan, I think the reason you did that is to get to one specific page with one specific amount for the payment button.
That's
that right?
correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Now, Liz is just telling us that she has multiple buttons on one page. And I guess I haven't seen that, but I'd like to see how that works.
Yeah, let me go ahead and masquerade as Liz. Is it your join/renew page? I was trying to get there earlier, but I
Yes.
didn't find it. Okay.
This was the whole reason for this node business, is to understand how
Yeah,
to.
on PayPal also, you could have a drop down.
Okay, but the thing I'm trying to figure out doesn't.
Well, you may not like what I did. Just take a look.
Well, no, if I didn't think about putting multiple buttons on one page. That could work too, I guess. I'm not sure how the layout should be.
Membership form. And then I'm going to see if, or what the confirmation page is. Okay, awesome.
Ah, okay.
So I made each of those buttons in PayPal, and they're different amounts.
Oh,
And
okay.
you choose which one you want. So we had arbitrary amounts that you could donate along with your memberships.
And I can drop this in the chat.
And you could click multiple buttons, or
No, you choose which one you want to do. So if you're a household member and you want to donate $50, you click
I
the
see.
middle.
Oh, this is Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Yeah, this looks like a whole lot more complicated than ours is. I mean, we have a membership, a payment through PayPal, and I haven't looked at it for a while. And but anyway, I mean, I didn't think it was this complicated.
Well, it isn't really that complicated.
I mean,
but
we
Well,
have.
let's look
I
at
mean, I don't
yours.
see-
Maybe we can look at yours. Maybe we can learn something from that.
Yeah, ours has
Yeah,
just
it's
been
always
there a
nice
long
to-
time. Yeah, but maybe you could look at ours and see, because I didn't think it was all this difficult.
Well,
so
I think
Liz,
it's a good way of it's one way of doing things, because this is probably a way to encourage folks to donate, just because the button is right there and easy for
Well-
them to click on.
well, you could click on a membership buy now and then go down and click on a donate, or how does that
No,
work?
you just click
When you-
on one of those buttons.
Mhm.
So if you're a household member, you click on the one that says household member
Yeah.
with the amount. And
But
then you
if
say,
you
buy
want
now.
to do a membership and a donation,
Well,
can
then
do it
you
the
go
same-
down to one of these
of
and choose one
I'm
of these.
sure ours must be on there that way.
But you can do it at the same time, or do you have to come back in?
I
It's all
should-
at once. You
It's all
choose
at
which-
once, yeah. Because this up here is just the membership dues by themselves, and then down here, these are membership dues plus a donation on top.
Huh.
Oh,
So
I
you're
see.
choosing
Oh, I
to-
see. You're combining them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So really, as soon as you click one button, it's going to take you to a payment.
Right.
I'm gonna have to look at ours.
I see.
This
Well,
is
let's look at. let's look
I'm
at
jumping
Jack-
over to yours, Jackie, now.
It's been so long since I really looked at that part, but nobody seems to have any trouble with it.
That's number one. If there aren't any complaints, then something has to be going good about it. Okay, so we have on the North Central San Mateo County the form of PayPal. Oh, and awesome, and
Then the-
printable form as
But
well.
up there on the type. Think the type has a drop down for different things.
Oh, yeah. For the, okay, different types of household, 2 or 3 versus the individual member.
And I think when people add it to their cart, because we do have people add donations, so I don't know how, I've forgotten how that.
Oh, I see.
That might be on the form.
It
See, I
might be on
didn't-
the next page.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do a cart because I
Ours
thought,
is just, yeah, ours has just been there so long that I guess we haven't changed anything. Okay.
My question on this, when you do the drop-down menu and it chooses one of the 3, how
Mhm.
does that number get passed to the button?
They check it whenever when they want.
Yeah, PayPal is handling that. So as soon as
Yeah.
I
So
choose
that's
one
a
of these,
PayPal built in. That's not a function that you built. This is a
Yeah,
PayPal.
no, just so, and I guess I'm just wondering if we have to change something, but I don't want to fool with it. I want somebody else to take this over.
I think you're the fact that folks can pay and it is a simple, smooth process here. I think you don't have anything to worry about there. You can leave that as is.
Yeah, okay. Because I know people add contributions, so it must be when they add to the cart somehow it's.
yeah, they just add another thing to the
Yeah,
cart.
I don't
And
remember.
then they buy the whole cart full, but that's if you want to do carts. I just didn't want to do carts.
I'm a life member, so I don't have to worry. I just pay for my husband
Oh, well, good for you.
and donate.
Whoa.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Definitely.
My intent on this was to keep it simple and just have a renewal page, have a donation page, and maybe a new member page, and see if I can.
That's
make
what we've
those-
got. We've got.
Yeah.
And actually there's a join our mailing list, which Amaris was nice enough to put on there and on the main page, and we've gotten people and then our membership director, when they join our mailing list, she sends them a note saying, thanks, and do you want to join?
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, you were nice enough to do that because I could.
Yeah, that was a bit of a tricky embed code, but yeah, that's really nice to have that front and center.
It really worked.
Awesome.
I should know this. I should know this on that page where you,
On this same one?
yeah, the little asterisk by email, is that put in there automatically by when you make it a required field?
Well, this this
No.
entire thing here is embedded. So it's not something that we created through MyLO, but I embedded it through HTML code provided by Constant Contact.
Yeah. And
So
they
it's-
actually add up to our, it goes into our constant contact as well.
Yeah, and it's Constant Contact that has required the email. And so that's why that asterisk is
Okay,
there.
but MyLO doesn't do that, right?
Yeah, to ask for signups, you could do ask for signups with your own MyLO form, but you wouldn't be able to embed it anywhere.
No, what I was getting at, for like on a renewal or the membership list, if you check a label that is required, it would be nice to be able to put that little asterisk there to remind people they have to fill that in.
Oh yeah, that does happen.
Does
When
that
you
happen? Okay.
yeah,